kids, are you ready to pick up where we left off in our story about Jacob? I hope you're having a great Sunday morning with your family. Did you notice anything different about this Sunday? Maybe about me? I'll give you a minute.
Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Wait, in case you missed, let me show you one more time.
I tricked you. I tricked you.
So I think I mentioned it before. I'm a twin. Everybody meet Everett.
Hello.
All right, here we go. Yep.
Wahahaha.
We played a trick on you, my dear friends. So I tricked you, didn't I? Yeah. Do you feel a little sad, a little confused, a little betrayed? Well, imagine if it wasn't just me and my twin, but you got tricked into marrying the wrong woman. Ah! Hey guys, before we get going today, I think it'd be a good idea for kids and parents to get off the couch, get off the sofas, get off the chairs, wherever you're sitting. And kids, would you teach your parents, and parents, if you know it, maybe you can remind your kids about the Father Abraham song. Get that blood circulating, get ready to move, and get ready to learn a new Bible story. So, Father Abraham, go for it. All right, now that we got the wiggles out of our system, let's do our story. So kids, we're going to pick up where we left off in this story about Jacob. Remember, he had just fled from his home. He had really made his brother mad because he tricked his brother and stole his birthright and his father's blessing. And where does he go? Well, he ends up going to Laban's house. And you guys remember that last week, God came to him in a dream and reminded him that even in all of this mess, that God was still with him. But today's story, we're going to see a little bit more of this broken family and how they treat each other, maybe in a way that really ends up damaging each other.
Meet the characters. Jacob. Laban. Rachel. LEAH. Livestock.
Jacob, my nephew, come. Of course you can live with me. You can work with me. Together, we can make it through this tough time in your family. Rachel is the delight of my eyes. I have fallen head over heels in love. Jacob, I love you. Please, I would love to marry you. Talk to my father. Hey, Laban, you know, I've really been thinking about it, and I would love it if you would allow me to have your daughter's hand in marriage. Can I marry her? Oh, you want to marry Rachel? Well, you know, how about 7 years of work? Does that sound reasonable to you? 7 years? Okay, you know what? She's worth it to me. She's worth every moment. I'm on it. What? My father said you have to work for 7 years? Well, I'll wait for you. So Jacob worked for 7 years. Wait a minute. I must have picked up the Message version. This isn't what ancient work looked like. Oh well, you get the idea. Modern day work is really hard. I mean, look at him. Look at him go. Typing on a computer. I'm doing it for you, Rachel. I'm doing it for you. Working real hard. This is more like it. Ancient work would have involved livestock. Imagine taking care of a flock for 7 years. But Jacob was deeply in love. He stayed motivated. His spirits were up. Jacob, thank you so much for working for 7 years. You can marry Rachel. Wait, what do you want me to do, Father? Oh man, those 7 years went by in the blink of an eye. I can't wait to marry my beautiful bride, Rachel. Oh man, it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day. Gonna get married. Yeah! Whoa! Man, this wedding's great. This wedding party's great. Whew. You know, it's getting kind of dark though, so I don't know. I'm not seeing everything quite as clear as I can, but you know, it's all good. I know that's my bride to be. I can't wait. Here we come. We're gonna get married. Oh man. Yes, of course I'll marry you. Let's say I do. Yes, Jacob, you've married me, LEAH. I've apparently been watching Star Wars too much. It's actually LEAH. Anyway, back to the story. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that I married the wrong woman? I worked for 7 years and I've married the wrong woman. Don't you love me too? Jacob, how could you? How could you marry my sister? Am I not enough for you, Jacob? Jacob. So Laban, you tricked me. Well, Jacob, it is custom to give away the oldest daughter first. And you wanted to marry Rachel, but all this time I've been planning to give you LEAH. It's actually LEAH. Ugh. How dare you? Even though I told you you could marry Rachel, this is custom. How dare you? Don't take it personally. How dare you? If you want to marry Rachel, it'll be another 7 years, my boy. How dare you? And you want me to work 7 more years so that I can marry Rachel? Rachel, you're worth it to me. I'm going to work 7 more years. I guess we're back in the message. Doesn't modern day work just look weird? I'll do it for you, Rachel. I'll do it for you. Yeah, let's go back to the ancient work. That's better. Look at all that. Keeping sheep, keeping goats, keeping the flocks for 7 more years. Whew. Well, Jacob, it's been 7 years. 7 more years. It's been 14 years. I guess it's time. You can marry Rachel. I feel like I've been here before. Don't take it personally. You know, you're a bit of a trickster yourself. But I finally, after 14 years, I'm gonna get married to the bride of my joy, to Rachel. You know, I've been thinking a lot. I deceived my brother. I deceived my father. And now I've been deceived. This just isn't a good way to live. This is not a good way to live. Where is God in all of this? There's a lot of things that are really challenging about this story. For one, we don't really marry our cousins in today's times, right? This story's a little strange, right? So you can talk to your parents about that. In different cultures and different times of the world, there were different customs, and this was one of them in the ancient world. But more than that, remember, we've been following this story about Abraham's family and how God would bless the world through it. And we might pause and ask the question, how could God bless the world through a family that treats each other this way? Imagine if you were Jacob. If there's anything good to say about Jacob in this story, it's that he truly loves Rachel. Now, I know that seems to the neglect of LEAH, and that's a painful part of this story. But he was willing to work for 14 years for someone. You know, in the Bible, Paul, who writes to a church in a place called Corinth, writes about love, and he says that love is patient. So when we love someone, we would do anything for them, right? And so we get a little glimpse of God's kind of love for us through this romance between Jacob and Rachel. Imagine if you were Laban. How could you do this to your nephew, to your family? How could you do this to either of your daughters? To use them for your own benefit, to get 14 years' work out of someone. Imagine if you were Rachel and you waited for 7 years to be with the man that you really wanted to be with, and then it was 7 more years, and your sister married the man of your dreams. Imagine being Leah, who feels like an afterthought, and Laban uses her for his purposes, and Jacob's not really in love with her, and this is all complicated, right? No one in this story ends up being happy because no one's treating each other right. And so how would God use this story? How would God use these people and all their brokenness and all their decisions? Well, a lot could be said about God's working and consoling Leah, and Leah has a big family after this. Rachel ends up with the one that she loves, and there's always some contention there. But with Jacob and what God chooses to do through this descendant of Abraham, this son of Abraham, God's going to do something in his life. And God's beginning to use this situation as a mirror to show Jacob what he's like. When he tricked his brother, when he tricked his father, this is what it felt like. And now, perhaps for the first time, Jacob is realizing this, that it's not good to trick people. It's not good to deceive. It's not good to hurt people. And he's learning more and more that there's a better way to live. And that way of life involves faith in God. And that way of life involves us changing in response to believing in God. Just like we talked about, God is loving, God is kind. This love is patient theme that Paul talks about, that's really a part of God's character, is love. He's a loving God. He treats people well. He thinks about others. Jacob is learning how to do that through the pain of his own life. And our story next week, he'll finally encounter the person that he maybe has been running away from this whole time. I'm excited to talk about that with you next week. Until then, Godspeed.